There was a research carried out in the 1960s by psychologists who wanted to understand human behavior. They wanted to understand, is it true when something that is tempting to the human being is placed in front of them? Do they really have the ability to control themselves? Or do they just follow their desire and they just take whatever is presented to them? So they call this the Marshmallow Theory. I want you to Google this up later. The Marshmallow Theory was done by scientists in the 60s who gathered 50 children and they placed them in a room, all separate rooms. And these children were between the ages of 3 and 5. And they placed them in the rooms and they separated each and every one of them and they placed in front of each and every one of them a marshmallow, a sweet. So this marshmallow is a sweet. And the children didn't realize that they were being recorded as well. There were secret cameras. So the researchers said to each and every one of them, remember they're in their own little room, there's nobody else there, just the participant who's the child and the researcher. And the researcher says, this marshmallow is yours, you can have it, you can eat it, it's yours. But I'm just going to go to the office for 5 or 10 minutes to get something, and if I come back and I see that the marshmallow is still there, I will give you 2 marshmallows. A concept which is called deferred gratification, that if you leave off something for a greater goal later, greater reward later, this is called deferred gratification. That if you don't have this marshmallow, it's yours anyway, it's yours, by all means you can have it now, but if you choose not to, if you can control yourself, then you will get 2 marshmallows. The first group, which made up about 60 or 70%, before the researcher could even leave the room, they picked up the marshmallow and they gobbled it up. They couldn't resist. The temptation was too overwhelming. They couldn't control their desire. Even though they knew that they would get 2 marshmallows in 5 or 10 minutes, but they couldn't control. The second group, who made up just over 20%, they waited for the researcher to go and they tried to be clever. They didn't realize there were secret hidden cameras. Some of them picked up the marshmallow and they began to lick the marshmallow. Some of them took the sides of the marshmallow and they began to eat it and they put it back. When the researcher came back, have you touched it? No, it's still there. I haven't touched it. No. Give me 2. That was the second group who thought they were clever. The third group, the ones who had this thing that we call Istiqama, resilience, strong willpower, they only made up 8 or 10%, but look what they did. One part of this 8 or 10%, whether it was 5 or 10 of them, what did they do? They picked up the marshmallow and they placed it away from their eyesight. They didn't want to look at this because they knew it was too tempting, too appealing. So they chose to pick it up and put it away. And they focused and they concentrated because they knew they would be rewarded with 2. The other part of this group also chose not to even touch the marshmallow. What did they do? They just turned their faces away. They turned their faces away for 10 minutes, not looking at the marshmallow because they knew if they look, the desires would kick in, the internal dialogue, the internal discourse, go and eat it, what's going to happen, who's going to see? So they chose to turn away. Now the researchers followed these participants for 40 years. The first group, the ones who couldn't resist, who followed their impulses, they couldn't resist, picked up the marshmallow and they ate it because they followed their desires. They found that they did really bad at school. They didn't finish school properly. They went from one job to another job to another job to another job. They couldn't secure a long-term job. They went from one marriage to another, marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce, marriage, divorce. They had no friends, only a handful of friends, 5 or 6 friends, but they didn't really have a healthy relationship or friendship with people around them. That was the first group, the 60% one, the ones who couldn't resist. The second group, the ones who tried to be sly and intelligent, they found that this group did well initially at the beginning in life. They did well in their exams somehow. They did well in business somehow. They had a few houses and a few cars. But then towards the end of their life, they found that they lost everything. Maybe it was that gambling nature, nobody's looking, have a nibble, that was inherent inside them. That gambling nature, when they took the marshmallow and they ate it, and when he came back, I haven't done anything. Maybe they took that through into their adult life and they cheated in their exams, or they did some scams when they were doing business, etc. Acquired a lot of wealth, but then one day they got caught out and they lost everything. The successful group was the one who picked up the marshmallow and they didn't want to look at it, or they turned their faces away. Those who had istiqama, willpower, resilience, who didn't want to follow their temptation and desires, they were the successful ones who did well with their careers and jobs, had money, wealth, family, all these things. So what they concluded is that each and every one of you sitting here has the ability to control yourself, to be a person who goes for the desires that we see on a daily basis and says, I can't help myself, and then you find yourself destroyed. Or you can be the person who believes truly in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is also deferred gratification. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ya qawmi innama hadhihi al-hayatu ad-dunya mata' wa inna al-akhirata hiya darul qarar. Oh my people, this dunya is a delusion, temporary enjoyment. Don't get preoccupied with this. Don't fall head over heels. Jannah is the place to be. Deferred gratification, that don't follow your desires. Be strong for these 10 minutes like those children were. And then you will see that which no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart or mind can comprehend eternally. This is what your Lord is saying. So I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enables us to understand that we have choices that we make in life. And in today's fast-paced technological world, when we have all these temptations and desires zooming in at us, we cannot use the excuse, Insan has been created weak, I can't help myself. No, you have to be like that last group who turn away from the desires, who don't get involved in desires, because your Lord is the one who is going to reward you in abundance.
Allahu Rabbi wal Islamu Deeni ومحمدا رسول الله ويقيني أدنو إليه ساجدا بجبيني اقبل صلاتي وللصواب اهديني يا ربي يا من هو مرشدي أيقنت أن إليك مرادي وموعدي فعشقت كل حروف كتابك